Hi my lovely witches and those who want to be one. My name is Bex and I'm the witch of the Witch's Cookery, and today we're talking about how to know what type of witch you are. And yes, there are thousands of videos on that topic already on YouTube, but I thought I'll give you a little bit of a different perspective and a very thorough breakdown on types of witches and why or why not to label your craft. As you might have seen on social media or Pinterest boards, it's now very much a trend to label your witchcraft as a green witch, a cottage witch, a kitchen witch,
a crystal witch, a herbal witch, a hedge witch, a cosmic witch, fire witch, water witch, wind witch, demonic witch, draconic witch, satanic witch, Wiccan witch.
I did stumble across terms like mermaid witch or coffee witch and just no. It's insane how many labels exist. You can basically take any kind of word and put a witch behind it and there you go, it exists. If you're only interested in hearing about a certain type of witch, feel free to look down in the description box for the timestamps. Do we need those labels? Do we need to know what witch we are? Now I am German, and in the German scene we don't talk about different kinds of witches. That's not a thing. You're either a witch or you're not. But it is a trend in the English-speaking witch community at the moment to pick those labels. And personally on my channel I use them too in order for people to find me. These types of witches can actually come in handy if you're looking for a specific group of like-minded people, or you're looking for a specific kind of practice or way to weave your magic. It's easier to find groups on Facebook or Reddit or search for YouTube videos if you kind of know what you're looking for. However, as my dear friend the Wayward Witch always says, if we label, we limit. So you kind of box yourself in if you choose one of those labels. What we're looking into today are the types of witches or the labels that describe your belief system, how you practice the craft, and then we'll also talk a little bit more about different kinds of very popular or very widespread types of witches. In my opinion, in order to be one type of witch, you also don't need to do and like everything that little Pinterest board tells you. So you don't have to be stereotypical in your interests or how you practice or what you like to do in order to subscribe to one type of witch. For example, in order to be a kitchen witch, you don't have to be a 5-star chef. You can also just microwave your lean cuisine with intention, and that can also be kitchen witchery. Or in order to be a green witch, you don't have to constantly have your hands stuck in dirt and, you know, wipe with the worms and have the greenest thumb. It is also enough to be someone that likes to work with herbs. And in reality, a lot of those labels actually only describe a form of practice. And a lot of witches do practice eclectic, which comes from the ancient Greek term eklektos, meaning to pick or to choose. And that's basically what it means. You pick and choose different types of practices or different kinds of streams or beliefs, and you just tailor them to your own person and to how you feel your craft, how you live your spirituality, or how you want to practice witchcraft. There are very few people that strictly only follow one line, only one belief or one specific way of working their magic. But let's start with an example how a label could look like. So personally, I would title myself a secular, agnostic, green, kitchen and cottage witch that practices various aspects of Bavarian folk witchcraft. In short, I'm an eclectic witch. Let's start with the types of witches that describe your belief. Some witches do practice their witchcraft in a religious context. Examples of that would be, of course, Wicca, Christian witchcraft, satanic witchcraft, Santeria, and many other more tribal specific types of witchcraft. Opposed to the religious witchcraft, you have the secular witchcraft. That just means that you keep your witchcraft apart from any kind of religious ties or beliefs. Here you would have, for example, the atheist witches, so the witches that don't believe or work with any deities. You have the agnostic witches that are, like me, a bit like, there could be something, there could not be something. We're very indecisive folks. Then you also would have, for example, pagan witches. And here again, you have witches that follow a specific pantheon, a specific pagan path, and work with those deities. And then you also have atheist pagans that only follow traditions of, for example, the North path or the Germanic beliefs or the Celtic beliefs and so forth. So basically anyone who practices witchcraft could choose to pick one of those labels as a part of their big witchcraft type. Then let's go a level deeper of how we practice. You have solitary witches and you have coven witches. Solitary practitioners practice by themselves, they're not part of a coven, and coven witches, obviously self-explanatory, are a part of a coven and like to also do rituals in group, or especially in the Wicca tradition, you have like covens where you have to be initiated into or should be initiated into. Of course, there's also a lot of solitary Wiccan practitioners. So a third description or type of witch would be hereditary versus self-taught witches. Hereditary witch just means that your family members are witches too and you have been brought up with certain traditions. Witchcraft is a lifestyle and a spirituality choice, so it's nothing you're born with. So it doesn't mean that if your parents have been witches that you necessarily have to be one too. Maybe you've been raised with different practices and you choose to do them, but it also doesn't mean if no one in your family has been a witch that you can't be one. You can choose to be one. Self-taught witches are just people that haven't been growing up with these certain traditions, haven't learned from elders in their family, from their parents, from aunts, uncles, whoever, and have started their own journey. So these are all labels that anyone could actually pick from if they wanted to, especially the ones that are more geared towards religious paths would already hold a lot of information value for you on how you can practice your craft, or what types of rituals, spells and practices in general you could involve into your craft. But now we're getting more to that very descriptive and very popular types of witches, and we'll also look into how to know what type of witch you are. So my personal advice when looking what type of witchcraft would work well with you is of course looking into your interests and into your hobbies, into things that you are drawn to. If you know nothing about crystals and they just don't speak to you and you are not interested in collecting rocks, probably you don't necessarily need to get into crystal witchcraft as it's sometimes titled. Or if you're someone that really despises cooking, you just burn everything you touch and it's not something that brings you joy, kitchen witchery is probably also hard to get into. Personally, I do love to weave magic into my everyday because then it doesn't feel like an extra chore. It feels like something that comes naturally into my life and I can bring magic into everything I do. So also look into what do I like to do every day. I love to cook, so I'm big into kitchen witchery. I love to have a cozy home. I love to make it nice. I like to decorate, so I'm definitely also into cottage witchcraft. We will talk just in a second what that all entails. It brings me a lot of joy to be outside. I need to go on 2 walks every day to really feel happy and healthy. And I also do connect with plants a lot and I'm trying to keep my own plants alive. So green witchcraft and working with herbs is also something that I enjoy. And you can really also come up with your own labels. You don't have to follow the couple of choices that the internet throws at you. So all these types that I'm going to explain now basically just describe certain types of workings or certain types of practices. So you can really just mix and mash them and tailor them into something that fits you perfectly. Green witchcraft describes someone who likes to work with herbs and with plants in their magic. You don't have to grow them yourself. You can just buy some herbs and spices in your supermarket. That's fine too. And there are many ways to work with plant life. You can put them in bottles, you can put them into food, you can dress spell candles with them, you can work in nature where a tree grows, for example with tree magic. That label only describes that you do enjoy to work with greenery. If you're really interested in herbalism, for example, or if you're interested in learning specific folkloric, magical correspondences of plants, or how plants grow and what they can do for your body on a medicinal or mental level, then green witchcraft might be something you're interested in. Kitchen witchcraft basically means that you put your magic into your food. And there are many different ways to do so. If you want to know how exactly, click the video up here. And it can really range from just preparing food or drinks with intention, stirring your wishes in soup and coffee, cooking with certain herbs or ingredients that carry some magical significance, working with sigils in pie crusts and stuff like that, or just cooking with love. Cottage witchcraft is basically domestic witchcraft, so anything household related. For example, making cleansing floor washes, or decorating your house with protective spell items, making sleeping sachets for sweet dreams to put underneath the pillow. There are many ways to bring magic to your home and your loved ones. It's very centered around your house and your family members or household members. Cottage witchcraft is also often referred to as hearth witchcraft, and I do have another lovely video linked up here for you to watch for some inspiration on cottage witchery. It's a perfect path for anyone that's a natural homemaker, or if you spend a lot of time in your house and do value having a nice atmosphere there. Next, you have the Hedge Witch, and the term Hedge Witch actually stems from jumping the hedge, meaning you're crossing the border between this mundane world and the spirit world. So it's someone that likes to connect with spirits, with ancestors. A lot of hedge witches do like to work very traditional with herbs as well, but they also have this aspect of shamanic or druidic kind of influences there. It's a bit less mundane than the three previous ones. Next we have the Cosmic Witch, also sometimes referred to as the Astrology Witch. This is for people that are really into the cosmos, the stars, the moon, the sun, the planets. It's astronomy, it's astrology. It can be like knowing what kind of a retrograde can influence our lives here, how it can influence the mood of people. It's about star signs or star constellations, birth charts and such, and how they might affect your personality or form your personality. It's also working with planets, stars, other cosmic phenomenons, and the significance or magical correspondence they carry. A lot of witches would also classify themselves as a lunar witch, so as someone that works with the moon and with the moon phases. And what that entails is just practicing different spells and rituals at a specific time in the month according to the moon and the correspondences that that can hold. Is the moon now full? Is it a good time for an abundance ritual? Is it a new moon? Is it good for new beginnings and such? Obviously, this can also tie into green witchcraft, where you, for example, plant with a lunar calendar. Next, you have the Elemental Witch that will work with the elements of water, fire, earth, and water, fire, earth, and air. Earth, air, fire, and water. This does stem a lot from the Wiccan context, where you do work with the specific elements and you cast your circle in a specific order, where the elements have also different correspondences to the directions, to certain planets and as such. It also ties very much into nature magic. In reality, a lot of witches do work in some way or another with the elements by doing candle magic, by doing freezer spells and stuff like that. That's all taking the elements in order to carry a specific energy or to direct. So it is part of many people's practice, but there are some witches that do not necessarily work too much with too many props and things and just focus on those basic foundations, just the elements. Then you have also the urban witch. This is kind of witchcraft that ties you somewhat to your location. While a lot of witchcraft practices are very nature focused and nature based, there's also great ways to practice witchcraft in the city and use what is there, the modern things that are there, the cars, the traffic lights, the noise, the amount of people. I just spoke before about how elements can carry energy and can activate energy. Of course, also a big accumulation of people can carry a similar energy, and you can work with that too. I have not made a video on that yet, but I'm definitely planning to. If you're interested in learning more about how you can witch in the city, please let me know in the comments down below. Another very creative and fun way to practice witchcraft is art witchcraft. Through painting, through doing arts and craft, through music, anything that's creative that you create with your own hand, with your own mind, has of course the potential to hold a lot of magic as well. This can be done with painting specific sigils or just creating art with intentions, little figurines. You can also weave spells into music or into song, and there are no real rules here. You can be free and try out different things. You can literally weave or crochet, knot magic, and make, for example, clothes that are charged with protective magic. Or you can make beautiful magically infused decoration for your own home that also has a use in witchcraft in order to bring a certain energy in your home, or of course cleanse your home from negative energy. So it's definitely something to look into if you have a creative mind, if you like to be artsy in some way. And now with all the technology that we've got, we can of course also make witchcraft a bit more modern and bring in the things that our modern times actually allow us to experiment with. So you also have tech witches that practice technological witchcraft. Especially now with the situation the world is in, a lot of witches do go to online meetups to do ritual together through Zoom, through Skype, for example. You have an entire techno-pagan movement with urban shamanism that connects the beliefs of a spirited, animistic world into our modern day society and technological options as well. It's a type of witch that doesn't only see a spirit and energy in natural items, but also sees this kind of energy in man-made stuff. Now you also have a lot of apps like moon calendars, you have tarot apps and stuff like that, where you don't actually need physical items, but you can do a lot of witchery from your phone. And of course I have to include the crystal witch, someone that's really into healing crystals, the magical significance they hold, the healing powers they might have, and the many different ways of how to work magic with them. Some just have them in their home, others carry the specific crystals with them all day, some put them in their little witch bottles, some infuse their water with them. There's also some crystals that you can have sexy time with. Some witches like to wear crystal jewelry, or if you grow your own plants, some even believe having a specific crystal next to a plant will make it grow better. So if you are a collector of pretty things or are just fascinated by the theories behind all of this knowledge, then it's definitely an interesting path to dip your toes into. So this was my personal take on how to know what type of witch you are. Let me know if you label yourself or if you are a happily unlabeled witch, and what kind of practices you specifically like to enjoy to involve in your craft and in your life. I wish you a wonderful magical day, and I'll see you very soon.